Imagine a long time ago, in the ancient city of Nineveh. Amid the whispering winds and dark alleyways, there lived a woman named Sarah. She was tormented by a terrible curse, a powerful demon named Asmodeus, who had fallen in love with her, yet brought only death and despair. Sarah's beauty was unparalleled, and many suitors sought her hand in marriage. However, her joy was short-lived as each wedding night turned into a night of terror. Asmodeus, consumed by jealousy and rage, would appear and kill her husbands, one after another, leaving Sarah in a state of grief and horror. Word of Sarah's plight reached a righteous man named Tobit, who lived in exile in Nineveh. Blinded by a freak accident, Tobit's faith in God never wavered. He sent his son Tobias on a journey to retrieve a sum of money he had deposited in a distant city, hoping to secure their future. Little did they know, their paths were destined to cross with Sarah's. Guided by the angel Raphael, disguised as a human, Tobias embarked on his journey. Along the way, Raphael instructed him to capture a giant fish from the Tigris River. The fish, a creature of legend, was no ordinary catch. Its heart and liver held the power to dispel evil. Upon reaching Sarah's home, Tobias and Raphael devised a plan to confront Asmodeus. On the night of the wedding, as darkness enveloped the room, Tobias burned the fish's heart and liver, releasing a pungent, otherworldly smoke. The room filled with an eerie glow, and Asmodeus, drawn by the scent, appeared in a fury. But the demon's power was no match for the divine protection of the angel's guidance. With a roar, Asmodeus was driven away, banished to the deserts of Egypt. Tobias and Sarah's love triumphed over the darkness, and they returned to Nineveh, their hearts filled with gratitude and faith. Tobit's blindness was miraculously healed, and the family rejoiced in the blessings they had received, their lives forever changed by the divine intervention. And so, the tale of Asmodeus's defeat became a legend, a story of hope, faith, and the triumph of good over evil.
In the heart of an ancient marketplace, amidst the cacophony of bartering and the fragrance of exotic spices, a merchant discovered an alluring amulet. Its beauty was unparalleled, shimmering with an otherworldly radiance that drew him in like a moth to a flame. Little did he know, this amulet was cursed by Asmodeus, the prince of hell. Anyone who wore the amulet would find their deepest desires fulfilled, but at a cost that would chill their very soul. As the merchant donned the amulet, his dreams began to manifest. Wealth beyond measure, boundless power, and unparalleled influence became his reality. But with every wish granted, a piece of his sanity slipped away. First, he experienced an overwhelming sense of dread as shadows danced menacingly on his walls. Whispers of malevolent intent echoed through his home, and eyes, unseen but felt, watched him from the darkness. Then came the visions, horrifying glimpses of the infernal realms. Night after night, he saw Asmodeus himself, a towering figure wreathed in flames, beckoning him to join the damned. His dreams were filled with the screams of tortured souls and the stench of brimstone. The merchant's mind unraveled as his wishes turned into nightmares. He became a shell of the man he once was, haunted by relentless visions of hellish torment. His once proud demeanor gave way to madness, and his wealth and power became meaningless in the face of his eternal torment. Desperate to escape the curse, he buried the amulet deep within the earth, hoping to rid himself of its malevolent grip. But the curse remained, lying in wait for its next victim, whispering promises of dreams fulfilled to those who dared to unearth it. And so, the cursed amulet lies dormant, its sinister glow hidden beneath the soil, ready to ensnare the next soul who seeks its treacherous gifts. Who will be the next to fall under its spell?
In the dimly lit alleys of 18th century Europe, where shadows whispered secrets and fate's dice rolled on the cobblestones, there lived a gambler named Victor. With a face chiseled by years of fortune-seeking, Victor prowled the midnight dens where fortunes were won and lost. He was well acquainted with Lady Luck, though she often turned her back on him. One stormy night, as lightning forked the sky and rain drummed incessantly, Victor found himself seated across a stranger in a darkened tavern. The man's eyes glowed with a malevolent fire, piercing through the smoky haze. Introducing himself as Asmodeus, he proposed a wager that sent a chill down Victor's spine. Victor's soul for a lifetime of unbeatable luck. Driven by desperation and greed, Victor shook hands with the demon, feeling a cold tendril curl around his soul. The change was immediate. Cards fell in his favor, dice landed perfectly, and even the wildest bets paid off. Wealth and power enveloped Victor, making him the envy of every gambler. Years cascaded by in a blur of riches, but as the final grains of sand trickled through his life's hourglass, Victor's dreams became plagued by a haunting presence. Asmodeus, with his burning eyes, stalked the shadows of Victor's mind, whispering reminders of their sinister bargain. In a panic, Victor sought salvation, his once golden touch now frantically grasping at spiritual straws. He confessed, prayed, and repented, but the weight of his contract bore down upon him like an iron shackle. The whispers grew louder, and the shadows lengthened until they seemed to close in on him from all sides. On his deathbed, surrounded by the trappings of his ill-gotten wealth, Victor's breaths grew shallow. The room around him grew icy, and shadows danced grotesquely on the walls. Asmodeus emerged from the darkness, his presence commanding and terrifying. The demon's grin stretched wide, a hideous caricature of triumph. "Your time is up, Victor," Asmodeus intoned, his voice a chilling symphony of malice. "The bargain must be fulfilled." With a scream that echoed through the halls, Victor's soul was wrenched from his body, leaving a lifeless husk as testament to his folly. Asmodeus's laughter, dark and resonant, filled the room before fading into an eerie silence. Victor's legacy was etched in the annals of those who dared to gamble with forces beyond their comprehension. In the end, Victor's story became a cautionary tale whispered among gamblers, a grim reminder of the price paid when one bets their very soul against the devil himself. In the heart of a mist-shrouded village, nestled within the folds of a dark forest, lived a young scholar named Elias. The village was small and unassuming, but its history was steeped in legends of the occult and the forbidden. Elias, a seeker of knowledge, was drawn to these tales like a moth to a flame. One fateful evening, while rummaging through the dusty attic of the village's oldest house, Elias stumbled upon an ancient tome. Bound in cracked, leathered skin and etched with cryptic symbols, the book emanated an ominous aura. It was said to contain the secrets of summoning demons, secrets that promised power and knowledge beyond mortal comprehension. Despite the warnings whispered through generations, Elias's curiosity overpowered his caution. Under the cover of night, with the moon casting an eerie glow through his window, Elias began to decipher the book's arcane language. Weeks turned into months, and his obsession grew. He isolated himself, his mind consumed by the dark promise of the tome. Finally, one stormy night, with lightning splitting the sky and thunder roaring like the anger of the gods, Elias prepared for the ritual. In the cellar of his home, surrounded by flickering candles and pungent incense, he meticulously drew the summoning circle. Chanting the incantations with trembling voice, he felt a chill spread through the room. The shadows seemed to pulse and writhe as if alive, and then, With a final desperate plea, the ritual was complete. The air grew heavy and cold, and a malevolent presence filled the room. Before Elias stood Asmodeus, Prince of Demons, his eyes burning with a hellish fire. The demon's form was a grotesque mockery of human shape, cloaked in darkness and exuding an aura of dread. "You dare summon me, mortal?" Asmodeus's voice was a deep, resonant growl, echoing with ancient malice. Elias, despite his fear, managed to nod. He had hoped for power, for secrets beyond imagining, but the demon's wrath was swift and merciless. Asmodeus raised a clawed hand, and Elias's world dissolved into a nightmare. His mind was assaulted by visions of horrors, unimaginable. Twisted landscapes of suffering, grotesque creatures that defied reason, and the tormented souls of the damned. These hallucinations were so vivid, so real, that Elias could no longer distinguish them from reality. Day and night lost meaning. The village was haunted by Elias's anguished screams, piercing through the stillness and echoing in the hearts of the villagers. His once brilliant mind was reduced to a shattered shell, tormented by the relentless onslaught of terror. Sleep offered no respite, as his dreams were invaded by the same horrors, turning his nights into a prison of madness. Desperation clawed at him, and he sought refuge in the village church. He confessed his sins, begged for salvation, but the weight of his transgression was too great. The villagers, fearful of the dark power that had gripped him, shunned him. His isolation deepened, and the shadows that pursued him grew darker and more oppressive. One fateful night, the village was plunged into an unnatural silence. Elias's screams had ceased. When the villagers finally mustered the courage to investigate, they found his home empty, the summoning circle smeared with blood, and the cursed book lying open on the floor. Elias had vanished without a trace. Legends whispered that Asmodeus had claimed his soul, dragging him into the abyss as punishment for his hubris. The book remained, a chilling testament to the scholar's folly. It lay untouched, a beacon of dread, a reminder of the price paid for summoning forces beyond one's control. Elias's tale became a ghost story, whispered in hushed tones around the village's hearths, a grim warning to all who dared to seek forbidden knowledge. And the forbidden book, cloaked in shadow and fear, awaited its next unwary victim.
Under the blistering sun of the ancient Jerusalem, the air buzzed with anticipation and unease. King Solomon, known for his wisdom and power, had undertaken the monumental task of constructing the temple. However, the task was not only grand in scale, but also fraught with supernatural challenges. It was whispered among the masons and architects that the king's obsession with the temple was driven by something darker, something that lurked in the shadows of his court. One moonless night, Solomon, armed with an ancient incantation, summoned the demon Asmodeus. Bound in chains forged by divine alchemy, the demon appeared, his eyes burning with malice and resentment. Asmodeus, the Prince of Demons, was known for his rebellious spirit and his taste for chaos. Yet here he stood, shackled before the king, forced into servitude. The work on the temple commenced, and Asmodeus, with his infernal strength and knowledge, played a pivotal role. Under the demon's guidance, the stones seemed to levitate into place, and the structure rose with an eerie swiftness. The workers, initially terrified, grew accustomed to the demon's presence. But the nights were filled with whispers of dread, as Asmodeus revealed secrets that chilled their souls. Solomon, driven by an insatiable curiosity, engaged in long, clandestine conversations with the demon. Asmodeus spoke of otherworldly realms and the dark machinations of the infernal hierarchy. He revealed the weaknesses of his brethren and the hidden sins of humanity. Each revelation was a double-edged sword, granting Solomon immense power while slowly corroding his soul. Yet all things dark and powerful are not meant to be bound forever. As the final stones of the temple were set, Asmodeus sensed an opportunity. He had bided his time, waiting for the perfect moment to exact his revenge. The night was heavy with an unnatural silence when the demon made his move. With a guttural roar that echoed through the city, Asmodeus shattered his chains. The ground trembled as he emerged from his captivity, his form more terrifying than ever. His eyes glowed with a malevolent fire as he unleashed his fury. Buildings crumbled, and the sky darkened with an ominous cloud. The workers and citizens fled in terror, their screams lost in the cacophony of destruction. Asmodeus left Jerusalem in a state of chaos, the once promising temple now a haunting reminder of Solomon's hubris. The king, stripped of his demonic advisor, was left to ponder the cost of his ambition. The secrets whispered by Asmodeus lingered in the shadows, a constant reminder of the darkness that lies just beyond the edge of human understanding. And thus, the tale of the temple's construction became a legend of horror, a story passed down through generations, warning of the perils of seeking power beyond one's ken.